You're watching once again a YouTube video presentation of the University of Wyoming Center on Aging. I'm Scott Veatch. I'm your host, and in this series we'll be discussing topics of interest for those who are caring for loved ones with dementia. We invite you to subscribe to the channel, and we hope that you'll hit that thumbs up like button. Both of those actions help our channel to grow and reach more people. And if you'll hit that notification bell, you'll be notified each time we upload a new video. Our guest today is Carol Taylor. She is a licensed clinical social worker in Wyoming. She specializes in geriatrics and dementia care. She is also part of the Wyoming Dementia Together team, and she's a friend of mine. So it's really good, Carol, to have you with us today. Thanks so much. You know, I think about all of the responsibilities that a caregiver has when they're taking care of a loved one with dementia. Overwhelming. And yet, one of the things that I know you stress is the partnerships that are available to the caregiver, and one of those certainly involves the healthcare team. Tell us a little bit about that and why it's so important.
You bet. Thanks so much for this opportunity, Scott. This is great. I love we're doing this. So the healthcare team is vitally important because along the way, you will have questions. Well-intentioned friends will say, well, you know what happened to my grandpa? This is what you can expect. And really, you've seen one elder with dementia, you've seen one elder with dementia. So I think it's very important to establish a solid relationship with the healthcare team. And when I say team, I mean the physician, the mid-level, the clinical people, the social worker, the PT, OT, the home care folks, but make sure that you have them in your circle of care and have access to them along the way. Ask questions when you go to appointments. Ask questions until you are clear on what's happening with your loved one and what the expectations are of you.
With so many things that the caregiver has to think about, how do they know if the advice that they're getting from their team is right for them?
Exactly. That's a great question. And it requires a bit of due diligence on each individual's part. This is a wonderful thing that can be delegated to perhaps an adult child that doesn't live in the area, but would like to help in some way. And they could go online, and I'm not saying just Google it, but I'm saying with some of the renowned experts. Another place to get comparative information or verifying information is on the WYCOA, the Wyoming Center on Aging website. We have so many resources on that. I call it one-stop shopping because there's very little in elder care and dementia care that you cannot find on that website. It's free. It's accessible at 2:00 in the morning. And so reach out, look around. You can always get a second opinion. Sometimes we're reluctant to do that, but this is bigger than one person's domain or ego. So we're doing it as advocates for our loved ones.
When you talk about where we are in Wyoming, you're certainly including all the reach that we have into Montana, Nebraska, Colorado, a lot of rural areas there. Does that make it tough to put together a team when you're kind of isolated geographically?
It can. I think one of the things that's very helpful is to have a sense of the language and know what you're asking for. For example, if you were to go to your senior center or the nearest senior center and say, you know, I'm really struggling. I need more help during the day. Now this behavior has come up and I don't know what to do about it. My doctor is good, but he's not the one that can help me with these behavioral issues. Do you know of someone, or could I contact another specialist, even if it's over the phone or Zoom, which we've all become, whether we want to be or not, we've become proficient at that. Yeah. And so that breaks down a lot of barriers. That really is like a shot at WD-40 on the whole access to care piece. So you can reach out to people. You can we don't I think about so many times with some of my beloveds that when they're at the end stage of dementia and other debilitating conditions, and the doctor will say, well, bring him into the office, and then I say kindly, uh, we can't bring her into the office. We can't move her anymore. And would this be a time that home health could come and take a look? Or in my practice, I have RNs that can go in and just do a one-time clinical assessment, and then we help put care plans together in that way. It's challenging, but it's not impossible. And what I have found in working in rural communities almost all of my 40 years of doing this work is there's always more resources than we think. It's a bit of a treasure hunt to find them sometimes. But I tell people, always start with your senior center. From there, talk to the social worker or discharge planner at the hospital. These people walk around with kind of Rolodex brains. And so there are people in your community. Sometimes you have to follow breadcrumbs to find them, but
you're reading my mind, because I was just going to ask you, for someone who's caring for a loved one who just received the diagnosis, where do you start? What's the good starting point?
Exactly. And again, I would start with certainly ask the physician or your mid-level practitioner. However, I wouldn't be passive about it. I think it requires us to reach out. One of the calls you can always make, anyone could always make, is to Sabina or one of us on the hub team with Wyoming Dementia Together. And I guarantee we can give you some gentle, supportive, directional arrows to what else to look at and who to talk to, recommending books, recommending support groups, recommending online counseling, knowing that the Alzheimer's Association and the Alzheimer's Foundation of America have live 24/7 help lines with real people, real professionals answering the phone. So you can pretty much get immediate help, at least over the phone, to help sort out some of the tangles.
You mentioned Sabina. We should tell the folks that we're referring to Sabina Shank, who is kind of the coordinator and the guru of our Wyoming Dementia team. And actually, she was the first interview we did in this series. So you can refer back to that interview as well. Let me ask you about, since your social work is your expertise, what kind of services do you offer? How do you help people navigate this journey?
Sure. Good question. I'm sort of a horse of a different color. No comment, Scott. I have my own geriatric care management practice. So I kind of do soup to nuts. People will call on me to say, this is the situation we're in. We don't know what to do about it. And after we get this resolved, we want you to sit with us and help us walk down this unfamiliar path. And so I do those things. I also have folks that work in home with many of our clients who need a little extra care. I work hand in hand with our beloved senior center here. They have a very small personal care program, but we work very well together, and they can only do like Monday through Friday till 8 to 5 or something. So if people need overnight care or 24/7 care or weekends, that's often where we come in and help with that.
Has what you do with the services you provide for caregivers, has that changed much in your career? Is it similar or not at all like what it was 20 years ago?
Yeah, that's a great question, Scott. What I have found, I had a colleague and a dear friend who a number of years ago said, I'd like to jump on board with you and elder care advisors, because she's a nurse. And she was one of the first nurses I worked with in Jackson in the early 80s in hospice. And we did tons of things together. So I said, well, oh, okay. So Janie came on board, but people didn't by and large need nursing care. They need information, they need support, they need counseling, they need someone to listen, they need those little pointing this way and that way, they need to be told frequently they are not going crazy.
Mhm.
It feels so much that way.
Mhm.
Also, I do a great deal of advocacy, not only for my beloved elder clients, but for the families as well. I do a lot of teaching and training with the families on communication techniques. I call it enlightened communication with your loved one with dementia, and ways, and these aren't really difficult things at all. They're really straightforward. And it's not just try this, but let me tell you how I've learned this from all of my dear dementia patients over the years. And this is why this works. And I think when people understand more about the clinical underpinning, it makes more sense to them and they're more motivated to maybe shift behaviors a little bit. That's been a constant in my practice. There's an increased need in home care. And that's the big change that I've seen.
Are we getting better at providing help for the caregiver?
Sort of, kinda. Not great. I think we can do much better. I think we need to have a minimum of one support group in every community in the country. Actually, I used to do support groups when I worked for the Institute for Cognitive Health in Jackson, and I had three different support groups. I had one group where the client and the loved one comes together, the primary care partner, and we'd visit for 10 minutes or so. But then I had a dear colleague, a geriatric nurse practitioner, and she would take the group, one half into another room, and I would stay with this half, because the care partners really need a place where they don't have to hold back and they don't have to speak in code because they don't want to hurt their feelings of their loved ones.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's just to be able to cry and not be concerned that that'll be misconstrued by your loved one as you're angry, upset, or whatever. And then our beloveds with dementia. I mean, I love those groups. I just love them because they get, the focus is all on them and it's very slow pace, so everybody has a time to think and then respond, and then they piggyback a little bit off of each other. It's so beautiful. Then I had another support group that I called Caring from a Distance. So people that live in Jackson, adult children generally that live in Jackson, but their loved ones are elsewhere in the country, and that brings its own set of challenges. So support groups are the best. They rock. I am very partial and a little bit stern about those support groups being professionally facilitated, because there's a lot of landmines, there's a lot of things that can come up that just a regular self-help group, a lay-led self-help group, might not be able to manage some of that. And there's always, in support group, there's always education, always. And that's wonderful. And to be with kindred spirits. You might not be at the same spot on the journey, but we know the language together, and that makes a huge difference.
Mhm. I want to remind folks that you're watching once again. This is a YouTube video presentation of the University of Wyoming Center on Aging. We invite you to subscribe to this channel. Also, if you'll hit that thumbs up like button, both of those actions will help our channel to grow and allow us to reach more people. And also, if you'll tap that little notification bell, it'll make sure you're alerted every time that we upload a new video. Our guest today is Carol Taylor. She is a licensed clinical social worker. Also, she specializes in geriatrics and dementia care, and she is a part of the Wyoming Dementia Together team. If you had to pick a one-stop shop, and I know that there are a lot of different places where information is available, is there one that's maybe a little more important than any other?
Do you mean for the family care partner?
Yes, yes.
The number one, honestly, is the Wyoming Center on Aging website. Under the resources, under past education, there are so many videos of some incredibly high level experts in this. The networks that have been created by Wyoming Center on Aging are phenomenal. That's the first place I would go. There's two other places I can recommend. Three. One is the Alzheimer's Association website. That's just lz.com. And then the other is the foundation, the Alzheimer's Foundation of America website. That's not as well known as the Chicago outfit, but they're phenomenal. They have incredibly wonderful, wonderful resources. And the final one is AARP. It's a great, they have checklists for when do you know it's time, and what do you look at in your folks' home to see if they're struggling, and putting realistic pieces together. So, but I always direct people to the WYCOA website first.
One of the things that was so challenging for me in caring for my wife, who had Alzheimer's for 15 years before she passed away recently, is dealing with hopelessness. It's such an exhausting journey caring for a loved one. What kind of hope is available? Is there hope available for the caregiver who's facing this monumental task?
Yeah. Great question yet again, Scott. Yes, there is hope. And here is how that often manifests within families in these situations. There may be hope that grandpa's with us and able to watch on the screen the Zoom of his first grandson's graduation from college. That's hope. The hope is that when we get just a couple hours, a couple days a week to relieve the primary care partner, they can go have a walk, have a massage, take a nap. That's hope. That's hope. I think along with the hopelessness is, of course, the sadness and also the sense of isolation. We often feel like I'm a stranger in a strange land, man. I don't know where I am on the "you are here" dot of the mall map. It's like, I don't know where I am. And so I think to hang with some kindred spirits is really important, hence the support group. And, one or two friends, and look at your circle of care. Who's in your world? And people say sometimes, well, I've got a lot of wonderful people, but they're not going to come and sit with him. Okay, I understand that. But might they come and bring a meal? And you and your loved one and your friends can enjoy a meal together. There's many rays of hope, I call them. They're rays of hope. And we know we can't turn the tide. We know we can't. We know this is a neurodegenerative disease process. So sometimes it requires us to scale down expectations a little bit, maybe. Maybe it's another Christmas with a huge box of candy. I'm thinking of Mona and the grandkids swarming around, on a sugar high.
Right.
So, I think that's where the hope comes from. And to know that you're not alone, there's other people on the journey, and there's some that have broken trail for you that you haven't been on that trail yet, but there's some bushwhackers out there. So
we've been speaking with Carol Taylor. She is a licensed clinical social worker here in Wyoming. She specializes in geriatric and dementia care. She's also part of the Wyoming Dementia team, Wyoming Dementia Together team. And as you can tell, an all-around great gal. Carol, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Scott.
You've been watching once again a YouTube video presentation of the University of Wyoming Center on Aging. We invite you to subscribe to our channel. We hope that you'll hit that thumbs up like button. Those actions will help our channel to grow and reach more people. And if you'll tap that notification bell, you'll be notified automatically each time we upload a new video. I'm Scott Veatch. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you again next time.